Welcome. This video will at least start about Amazon amarants, which are our ancestors. The millions of years of immunity and thriving of the Amazon amarants is explained or is explainable by certain genetic components they have and other humans don't have anymore. These more complete genetic components still makes things easier for them to survive and thrive, at least more or less, under the difficult conditions and under Amazon conditions, which most groups would not resist, or at least they would not thrive. They survive and thrive without healthcare and with extreme presentations of zoonoses. Children, and probably adults too, have quite extreme contact with wild animals, often have them as pets, and at least some persons wear feathers, so it's close contact, but there is much more contact than this, of course. Still, with all these difficult conditions, the Amazon amarants, and even with high inflammatory markers, Amazon amarants present superior heart and brain health compared to all populations on Earth. They present 5 times less dementia. They present 70% less yearly degeneration of the brain. That's a lot. In my view, it has mostly to do with non-genetic components like fasting or intermittent fasting that induce periods of ketosis, maybe on a daily basis. Ketosis and catabolic and regenerative phases after ketosis and catabolic phases that clear, repair and prime. I would be delighted if there was a component of seeds or fruits, like several scientists are looking for and claiming that they are so healthy because of healthy foods and seeds and so on. I would be delighted if that were the case, but I have my doubts, because I'm a forestry engineer and I'm want to be a protector of forests and in general, and Amazon forest in particular. So I would be delighted, because for instance, acai is a fruit of a palm, considered a health food, and it's a delicious food. Of course, you can harvest them from adult trees, but these trees will get old and die, and if they are over harvest, it won't work. So if, let's say, acai or other palms or plants, fruits, would be discovered as being real health foods that would cause this superior heart and brain health, then of course there would be a very large demand. And to answer this demand, it cannot very simply be solved. It's not very simple to solve this demand, to deliver, to answer this demand, because it's not simply cutting forest and plant acai trees or the other trees that are the newly discovered health foods. Because, for instance, acai will not grow, develop and give fruits if you cut the forest and plant them. I don't go into detail, but acai only thrives, grows, develops and gives fruits under certain forest-like conditions. It has to do with species composition, trees and so on, structure of the forest and soil. It's not only the case, that's also the case with forest trees under threat of extinction. These conditions that this palm and other need are the conditions that form or already have ADE soils, Amazon dark earth soils. For the locals it's terra preta or terra preta do Indio. It's black earth or black earth of the Indian. If such forests were planted in order to have this very special health foods that improve brain and heart health, save people, cure people, if I said if, then it would be needed to plant all forests before you can grow these palms, these health foods. So I personally would adore such a situation, because they won't have any other choice than to grow forest again where there is no forest anymore, on agricultural grounds, on degraded grounds, soils, and growing these forests on these very carbon rich soils would suck or sequester masses of carbon out of the atmosphere and solve the climate change, which in my opinion is only a part of our problems, not even talking about our health problems or perfect storm that CDC is talking about and others. The Amarins, the Amazon Amarins, did not have Amazon forest like we know it now in the past. Amazon forest and agroforest with enriched soils is the same thing. The forests in the Amazon region that were not managed by the Amarins to become the Amazon forest as we know it, with these Amazon dark earths or these terra preta do Indio soils. Well, this does not develop or exist if the Amazon Indians, Amarins, didn't take care of it, manage it during probably a very long period of time, hundreds or maybe thousands of years, on the soils like they are present in the Amazon. The Amazon presents, without this management, very poor soils that cannot produce these palms or any other food, seed, fruit of interest. That's why the Amarint Indians planted or better enriched the forest that was much poor in composition and was on much poor soils, and enriched them during hundreds or thousands of years, and then they would thrive and stay healthy etc. I say that's what the Amarins did in a relatively deep past, and that is what scientists started to discover like 10-20 years ago and try to imitate. But they will only find out if they are able to imitate if they observe like decades, but because it's something that grows, this special soil grows, as well as this agroforest. It needs time to grow. Efforts. I did a similar research in the period 1984 to 2000, which was done, this research, together with Amazon Amarins in the greater Amazon. I prefer not to mention the location right now. And we as a team, the Amarins, Indians, myself as a team leader, was successful in this research and in its objectives. Amaranth held foods from the Amazon forest. We do not know, this was a supposition what I just made, that if scientists would discover certain plants as health foods and confirm, especially in this crisis, that would create large demand, but we do not know that. I didn't see proofs of it. The only thing that we can see is that they have superior heart and brain health. Still, I think, I hypothesize that their health, their special health, has to do with identity of the cells, tissues, etc., and their defense, because they are much more attacked than we are by pathogens, by toxins. Their staple food contains a lot of toxins that they just wash out, or decrease by fermentation, etc., etc. Cassava has a lot of toxin. It has cyankali. That is what in the spy films and books of the past, what spies used to kill themselves in a matter of seconds. And this is what the plant uses, cassava and others, to use to defend themselves in a very extreme competition in the forest. And that's what these Indians eat. It's their main crop. It's not that much hunting and so on and so on. It is cassava and maybe yucca, or some other ethnic groups use yucca. Amazon Amarins use mainly cassava because it is so toxic that they don't need pesticides, herbicides, and they can store it at least without refrigeration, because it's so toxic. And they wash or fermentate it out, but they will have a daily portion of these extreme toxins, and they know it. They know how to wash it out, how to fermentate it. So I just want to say, it's not easy conditions. They have high inflammation markers, which normally, let's say, almost destroy heart and brain. And even with these toxins, pathogens, high inflammation markers, they have this exceptional heart and brain health, and health in general, because you cannot have heart and brain health if the rest is not okay too. Well, the research I did with Amazon Amaranths during 16 years was with a rather nihil forest management. No pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, nothing. But I have to explain, or you should open the book. I will give a link. It's very old. It's very primitive publication from 1987. It was an intermediate publication. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter a lot. This is my publication. It's not very important. It's only for the one who are interested, because maybe people will not even see very much the link between what Amaranths did in the deep past, or relative deep past. There are even things that I only understood recently by studying Amaranths. I mean about the forest, so about what I did, and with what we had this success from research standpoint, like regenerating naturally extinct tree species, apart from growth of the existing species with 150% plus, so with 250%. That means I'm talking about the trees, I'm not talking about the soil. We didn't research the soil, but only the trees captured an enormous amount of carbon, which was not even an objective back then. The objective was regeneration and production of wood, so that at least a few cube meters could be extracted to avoid the forest to be cut because not being productive. So for someone, a government or whatever, a private company, to have a reason to not cut the forest. So more or less. I was invited at a certain point by Food and Agriculture Organization, United Nations Organization, and IBAMA, which is a national organization, to do the same research as the one I was just explaining, this time again in the Great Amazon Forest, but this time in the Brazilian Amazon forests. But I could not make it at the time. I stopped this video by some kind of declaration. I let IBAMA and Food and Agriculture Organization, United Nations Organization, and others know that I am prepared to consider to do the same thing that what they were looking for, but I couldn't answer at the time. Or if I cannot do it again, because I have a certain age, and it will take some time to prepare for this same research, I could guide a research team. I was leader, author of this system, and involved in all phases of the research I just mentioned above, and that you have a link, but it's quite a primitive publication in 1987, because I thought back then that I would do soon several other publications. Okay, so next video we'll talk about where we have foci, plague, foci centers. You see, very important in the United States, very important in China, but they are spread all over the world. South Africa, Andes region, Argentina, Brazil. So this is a zoom, and this is where effectively the most cases of plague occur. Madagascar, Zaire. Even if the foci are outside, this is enough to spread and cause the cases and the deaths, of course. Then this is for me this autism that rose so dramatically since 1995, from almost 0 to, well, the number of cases here, I cannot read it right now. This is autism in 6-year-olds. This is a drama. This is a much bigger drama than COVID. It's old new people. This is genetic. This is not even degeneration during life, but they are more prone to degeneration. You can see here they are double prone to cancer and well, all kind of other disorders, like everything. And very dramatically, they have more than 10 times more suicide than the general population. That is dramatic. That is a sign they are not good. And I can even show that some of them commit suicide 10 times more. Male seems to be 10 times more, and female seems to be 13 times more. Even in mild autism. The severe autism probably don't even have the conditions to suicide themselves. I know personally a case, and I have found some literature about it. You have of these children, not only with autism, with deficiencies, who blame their mothers and mostly their mothers, but also their fathers, their family. They blame them for putting them on this planet. That is dramatic, and so we should not focus on one thing. That is not even a real threat compared with the threats we were talking about, bacterial and fungi. Then there is another thing, autism. You saw it in 6-year-olds. Makes them prone to degeneration, to Alzheimer, to dementia, to all degenerative disease. You saw cancer here, but cancer is not even that neurological. It's much more. It looks to me like 4 to 5 times more. But what calls most attention is the access in suicide. And then just to try to illustrate, it's not a good way to do it, and it's not, maybe not even totally ethically what I will do now. This is Finland, and its deaths by main causes in 2019 and 2020. I understand 2020, this must be an error in the publication. And you see that you have all these disorders, and you see that COVID in 2019 wasn't present. In 2020 it was this. This is not 1% of the total deaths. So I mean, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, is immensely higher, and of course these young people with autism, they are not dying already. They are not in this graph. They are a drama by their own. So that's for now, but this is changes in cause of that from 2000 to 2013. So most going down because people possibly because people are dying of Alzheimer's and dementia. This is 71% up. We're talking about deaths, and the people with autism are going there. I talk about this in another part, and I show peer-reviewed articles. So the World Health Organization knows about this. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people aged. What do they do about it? If they want to do something about it, amongst others, they will have to focus on this and focus on this and on this. It's inhuman to focus only on one thing. So, well, I have to see what the next video is about. This is plague and how it flowed to blood leading to multi-organ infection and failure. So it's the reason of that. So that's for the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. Just maybe quickly, this is COVID deaths, April 12, 2020, United States, Western Europe, Iran, this is deaths by dementia, deaths per million persons in 2012 due to dementia, and dementia was good, and deaths by dementia were getting worse. So this is dark red. This is like, this could be as high or higher than 1000 deaths per million of dementia and Alzheimer in 2012. This only did increase since then, but like say since 2019, because of COVID, it's difficult to see these numbers again. I stopped publishing these numbers, and not only in 2019 or in 2020, for reasons that you maybe can see better now. So what is quite interesting, this is this map from the World Health Organization 2012, where this represents up to 1000 deaths per million or more, and by now certainly more. The range will have gone up. This is also Western Europe, Australia, Uruguay, Canada, and to a lesser extent South Africa. But all the others, French Guiana is there too, Scandinavia, they have probably close or over 1000 deaths per million because of Alzheimer and dementia. That is incredible. These people, before they die, they have years and maybe decades that they have symptoms that they probably know at some point what will happen to them and what this will cause for their families. So this is COVID, and you see the correlation. United States, Canada, United States, Canada. I don't mention South America. The correlation is a little bit less, like Brazil, Andes countries, Brazil, Andes countries. The correlation is higher for USA and Canada. So let's forget about the others. They are just a little bit less associated. Then Western Europe, this is dementia Alzheimer deaths, up to 1,000 deaths per million. And you see the same thing in COVID, so there is a correlation. That's why I claim this was 2012. This is 2020. It's not here, but it's from the World Health Organization as well. So there's a correlation. So this is the cause of this, or they have the same cause in common, and that's degeneration. That's clear, because this is degeneration, Alzheimer, and dementia is degeneration, and autism the same. But this is not about autism. This is about Alzheimer and dementia, which is a disaster by itself. And this hopefully will pass. Hopefully without too much other co-infections. But this is here since 2012 and long before, and it will increase and increase because we are focusing on one viral infection. We are not focusing on this. If we were focusing on this, we were now focusing on this and this, because they are vulnerable. This will evolve in dementia and Alzheimer. They and all health organizations should focus on this, because this and will cause amongst others this, but this is COVID, COVID deaths. So that's for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.